Okay, here is a video lesson for the sheet Adding Sixteenths to Beats, Part 3. There's Part 1 and Part 2. The sheets are probably in your pile or in your emails somewhere, but this is a little farther of a step ahead than Part 2 was from Part 1. We're going to be incorporating two notes that start on an up count, on an E or an Ah, and we're going to be getting the bass drum far more active. I'll demonstrate the first one and then explain how the sheet works. So you want to be thinking 16th notes. The right hand or the hi-hat, depending on which hand you're going to lead with, the hi-hat is always playing eighth notes throughout, but it's good to think 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and as you're learning it, as you get more comfortable with it, you can lay into the eighth note pulse and understand that the 16th notes are the spaces between the eighth note pulse. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and etc. But as you're learning it, to make sure you're playing it precisely, count all the 16th notes. So this first pattern is 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and again 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So there's quite a mix of things going on there. In the snare drum, you're getting this ah 2. So we've been used to playing, the two notes in a row like they happen on count 4, 4 E and starting on a downbeat, 2 and 4 E and. But when the two notes in a row, they're the same length of note, 16th notes, starts leading into a downbeat, it can feel different and can throw off the hi-hat. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. The second line is the same two cells of the beat, so played in a different order. So the first beat, counts 1 and 2 on the second line are now counts 3 and 4, and counts 3 and 4 from the first beat are now counts 1 and 2. Why are we doing this way? Well, it's just another challenge and another variation, but what you'll start to notice is that in 4/4, each quarter note slot in the bar, 1, 2, 3, and 4, have almost what you could call different personalities. And those, any rhythm that you play in the bar, depending on which count you play it on, it can have a different musical effect. The timing will always be the same, but it's amazing how when you hear something in the context of a larger bar, like a rhythm in a larger bar that moves through the music, what count it falls on really changes its musical effect. I'm going to play the first beat twice and then go immediately into the second line, the second beat. And I want you to hear how they have a very different quality, even though they're made up of the same component parts. 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So same components in a different order in the bar creates a much different feel. We can talk in detail in lessons about why this is so, but essentially you want to think about, are the phrases resolving to a downbeat or are they launching up from a downbeat? So for example, ah 2 on the snare drum is a two-note phrase that ends on the downbeat. 1 E and 2 E and 4 E and, we're talking about the first line here, 4 E and is a two-note phrase that launches from the downbeat, from count 4. So right there, those two rhythms have very different feelings. Then you start placing them in different points in the bar. So for example, in the first one, I resolve to the downbeat on count 2 of the bar. And in the second version, I resolve to the downbeat on count 4. One gives this feeling of sort of grounding or pulling back, and the other one gives this feeling of driving forwards. I want you to play and experience it, and then we can talk about it in more detail. Let's try the third line, which is a new set of rhythm cells. Now we're adding the E count on count 1. So we're embellishing the beat from before, and we're playing 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So essentially we're adding the E count on the snare drum on 1 and 3 to create a much more active snare line. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Notice how the hi-hat is super even, very straight. It creates this through line that all of the bass drum and snare drum rhythms can react against. Let's try the alternate version of it with the cells moved around. 3 E and, this is line 4. 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 4 E and. Moving on. In this next phrase, the snare drum becomes changed again. So now we're going to play 3 16th note hits on the snare drum on count 2 and on count 4, but different counts of the 4 16th notes. On count 2 we play 2 E and Ah. And then on count 4 we actually play 4 16th notes. If you think about where it starts on 3 E and Ah, 4 E and Ah. So this is, let me just count that up, 7 snare drum hits in the bar, which is a lot. And the bass drum is the same as even from the first line. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. I want to make a point, just looking back up, line 2, there is an extra hi-hat note that I didn't intend in the sheet, but you can play it or not. It's on count 3, it goes 3 E and I would prefer you didn't play the ah, but if you want to, you can, but you can just play straight eighth notes through that bar. Anyway, going back to line, we're now talking about line 5 that I just played. I'll play it one more time. Line 5. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So a lot of doubles in the non-dominant hand. This is a situation where if you're used to playing a real chop on your snare drum, playing with the forearm, you're not going to have much luck playing these fast two-note phrases. So whether you use fingers pulling or a rebound stroke, either way you need to focus on the hand, the stick moving inside the hand, not the arm moving the stick. Let's try line 6. So a rearrangement of those rhythm cells. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Moving on, line 7 and 8. Now we introduce the bass drum not playing on the downbeat on count 3, which is sometimes unsettling. And then in the following bar, we don't play on the downbeat on count 1. And we're using that bass drum sound filling in between the hi-hat notes. We heard that in Nirvana's In Bloom, right? We heard that kind of sound. I'm going to play lines 7 and 8, 7 twice and then 8 twice. So you can hear how it sounds and then how it sounds with the rhythm ideas, the rhythm cells shifted to new counts. Here we go. 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Moving on, scrolling up the sheet. Now we're adding a double in the bass drum 1 and. Let's hear how that sounds. Again, I'm going to play the first line. I think that's bars 9 and 10. I'll play bar 9 twice and then bar 10 twice. Let me make sure I'm counting the right number of bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, bar 9. Bars 9 and 10. Here we go. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. This quality of not playing the bass drum on the downbeat, boom, 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 gives this really sort of off-balance feeling while staying fully in time. Now, if you have that in line 10, it's at the beginning of the beat. 1 E and a 3 and 3 and a 4 and a. So the beat feels like it starts off balance and then smooths out and grounds out. Let me try it again. 3 E and a line 10. I'll go back to line 9, and that off-balance phrase is happening at the end of the bar. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 again. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So you see how starting on 2E and ah, we get this snare drum, bass drum, snare drum, all on ah, E, ah. And it creates this real moment of suspension, of imbalance, that's then resolved on a ah, 4 and. This can be really funky and lots of fun, especially if you can even use these almost like as fill type beats. So if you wanted to play a more simple beat, I'm going to play like a very simple beat and then play the pattern from bar 9 to end the phrase. I'm going to play a 4-bar phrase. So I'm going to play 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and. That'll be my basic beat, kind of reflective of what bar 9 is all about, but simplified. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1 E and a 2 E and 3 and bar 9 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So it almost works as a fill, in addition to working as a groove on its own. Final 2 lines, bars 11 and 12. We've now got we're pushing the double bass drum hit back onto count 2 and avoiding count 3 and then landing on 3 and creating this sort of a busy part of in the bass drum on a non-traditional bass drum count. We tend to think of the bass drum, its zone being 1 and 3, and the snare drum its zone being 2 and 4. But of course, you can put things wherever you want to make the music you want to make. So I'm hoping that these beat ideas inspire that kind of creativity. Here we go. Bar 11 twice, bar 12 twice. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Oh, I played bar 12 wrong. I got caught by my own trap. Starting again, bar 11, bar 12. 11 twice, then 12 twice. What threw me off was bar 12 starts with no bass drum. And you haven't, if you go from bar 11 to 12, you haven't played a bass drum on a downbeat since count 1 of the previous bar. You've only heard the bass drum on 2 and 3 and, then it's 4 and 1 and. So it's a long time to be on the precipice of without landing back on the bass drum. So it's fun to play. Challenging too. So bar 11 twice, bar 12 twice. Here we go. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Have fun with these. It almost goes without saying, but I always say it anyway. You have to be counting when you do this. The notes have to be in the right spot at the right time. You probably know beats or intuitively play beats that are similar to this, but maybe not consistent like this, or maybe you're not sure how you're doing it and you're just getting a sound. Working through this sheet will allow you to really see how all of these notes react with each other and how they can function in the beat pattern in a bar. These can be turned into fills too. We can get into that at a later time, but you can, if you wanted to try voicing some of the snare drum parts onto the tom-toms to play a fill like 1 and 2 and 3 and you can do things like that to create different grooves. You can flip your hands around and play the hi-hat with the non-dominant hand and play the snare drum with the dominant hand. All kinds of ways to use this sheet to work through things. Have fun with it, go slow, count out loud. If you have questions, pick it up in the lesson. All right, have fun.